What's up guys? In today's video, I'm going to be giving you 10 ways to use Ashe's ultimate Bob. Some of these tips will be basic tips, while other ones will be a little bit more advanced that you can implement into your own gameplay. And as a special surprise, I've also included 2 extra bonus tips at the end of this video, so be sure to stick around for those. Also, for the low price of 1 like and 1 subscription to this channel, you too can sponsor a small YouTube streamer trying to live her dreams. So be sure to leave a like and subscribe today. All right, let's get into it. Here we go. Tip number 1. Use Bob to stall the cart and cap the point. You can use Bob to stall the payload or to cap the point. Bob counts as an extra man and is very useful in stopping the payload. These are honestly probably the most common ways to use Bob. Tip number 2. Use Bob during Genji ult or to kill Bongo. One of the best defensive ways to use Bob is during Genji's ultimate or when he's nanoblading. That extra bit of damage onto the Genji can mean whether your whole team lives or dies. Also, when you throw Bob at Orisa's ultimate, Supercharger, he will focus it down. This is very useful as Orisa's ultimate allows her team to deal an extra 50% damage to the enemy team. Focusing it down should be your top priority whenever it's up. Tip number 3. Use Bob to clear mines. There's nothing wrong with countering an ultimate with another ultimate, as seen in my last tip. If your team doesn't have a shield tank, you can throw Bob to clear mines and use your dynamite to clear up the rest of them. Tip number 4. Bob Shatter. The next tip is probably one of the coolest techs that Bob is capable of doing. Whenever you throw Bob at an enemy, it will boop them up into the air. This is really useful if the enemy team is hiding behind their main tank. For example, you can throw Bob at the enemy Rhine and land a Shatter on the backline and clean up the team fight. Also, just make sure that when you're using Bob, don't throw him at an ulting McCree, as it'll throw him into the air and give him a better sightline to kill your entire team. Tip number 5. Use Bob to spawn trap. This way to use Bob is a little more risky in my opinion, but given the specific situation could be very useful in stalling the enemy team from reaching the objective in overtime. Throwing Bob at the enemy spawn doors will force the enemy team to either focus Bob down, use their abilities to CC Bob, or risk dying to Bob's LOS. At the very least, it's a good way to shave off a few extra seconds in overtime. Tip number 6. Use Bob on the high ground. This is personally one of my favorite ways to use Bob, as no one really expects to see a Bob on high ground, and it's infinitely harder to CC Bob on high ground unless the enemy team has an Ana or Sombra. Throwing Bob on the high ground makes him feel like Pharaoh, where justice can rain down from above. Tip number 7. Throw Bob on the opposite side of Sym Wall. One of the biggest benefits to having Sym Wall up is your ability to AD strafe between the wall to mitigate damage. However, if you throw Bob on the opposite side of Sym Wall, you can guarantee that the enemy will be taking damage no matter which side of the wall they're standing on, making Sym's ultimate less effective. Tip number 8. Throw Bob at the enemy backline. This is one of the most effective ways to use Bob in my opinion, as it will either clean up the backline or it will force the enemy to use crucial abilities such as sleep, beat, trans, immortality field, and more, so the backline stays alive. Tip number 9. Use Bob in your front line to soak up damage. If you're down a tank or you don't have much of a front line, throwing Bob in your front line is a great way for him to soak up some damage and stop the enemy team from pushing forward onto your team. Tip number 10. Use Bob in a 5v6 or in a 6v6. If one of your tanks or DPS goes down, using Bob will give your team an extra body and make that 5v6 into a 6v6. The extra damage output that Bob provides for 12 seconds will hopefully give your team enough time to clean up the team fight. Or you can use Bob proactively. You can use Bob to make the fight a 7v6, giving your team that little bit of an advantage at the start of a team fight, and hopefully the enemy team won't be able to withstand all that damage and you'll win the team fight. Bonus tips! Wave at Bob. Bob is super friendly. If you wave hello at him, he'll wave back. Accidentally throwing Bob off map. Look, we've all done it. Don't deny it. Just don't wave at him as you accidentally throw him off the map. It's cruel. Bob lives matter too. If you enjoyed the video or learned something new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss another one. Also, be sure to comment down below your favorite way to use b.o.b. I'll see you guys in my next live stream. Check the description down below for details. Bye!